The Groom of the Stool, an assistant to the king responsible for fetching the king's toilet chair, wiping his rear clean, and collecting the stool for examination and monitoring of the monarch's health.
They had to wipe him and monitor the poo.
What it do, baby? Back again with another reaction. Worst jobs in human history. Shout out to Infographic Show. Let's get right into it.
Everyone remembers at least one job in their life they absolutely hated.
No
For
cap.
most people, that's
No
one of
cap.
the many terrible jobs they get immediately after leaving
Stand on top of your head. 3, 2, 1. FedEx.
home and striking it out on their own for the first time. But throughout history, some people have not only worked, but made careers out of occupations that are disgusting, disturbing, or outright dangerous and painful. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the
I'm really
Infographic
interested
Show.
to see what-
Today,
what's
we're
back
taking a
now.
look at the worst jobs that have ever existed.
Oh.
12. Leech Collector.
What?
During
What?
the 18th and 19th century, a craze for
Oh,
leeches
because people thought leeches could cure disease and whatnot.
hit Europe, fueled by the practice of bloodletting, or the draining of blood from the human body for
okay.
supposed health benefits. Leeches were in demand by doctors across the continent
my
to treat
God.
their ailing
No.
patients. Thought to help remove bad humors from the body, dozens of leeches were attached to a patient who was then sucked on by the hungry little parasites. But someone had
Then
to
you gotta
provide
get
all
them-
those slimy
Yeah,
little
they had to-
bloodsuckers,
oh.
and for a long
God.
time, that was the work of poor peasant women.
Would you do it? Would you do that? Would you put your... I'm just wondering. You're a poor peasant woman. I'm so sorry.
Wading into swampy water
Oh,
and bearing
God.
their
Swampy
legs,
water?
the leeches would latch on to their bodies and then later be collected by the dozens. Not a physically tough job, leeching was still extremely dangerous, as the leeches could drain a fair amount of blood and possibly pass on dangerous infections.
They didn't go and just try to catch him. They literally got him stuck on.
You had to put people in the
No.
water.
Yeah, no.
That's nasty.
There was another way, I guarantee it. If you know what the leeches are, there's a way to catch them without letting them suck on you.
Could they have just put like a dead fish in the water?
Cut off somebody's arm for crying.
Surprisingly, leeches are being used once again in modern medicine to help patients heal from certain surgeries, but they are valued today for their ability to let blood flow freely rather than suck it up. Oh,
Okay,
and they're
okay.
also grown in laboratories and don't require anyone to wade into disgusting water naked from the waist
swampy
down.
water.
11.
Ugh.
Whipping boy.
What?
Medieval Europeans
whoa,
believed
whoa. Then it had to be naked from the waist down to catch them.
Yeah.
Oh!
What if it's that, you know, that weak? What if it's that weak? No.
All right, what is a whipping boy? All right.
that royals were appointed by God himself. So therefore, if a young royal prince began to act up, who could possibly punish him but his father, the king? No doubt busily managing the kingdom, or God himself, no doubt busily managing creation.
So instead of whipping the kid, do they whip the boy? Why the fuck?
Or is the
The
hired
practice of the whipping boy. In lieu of striking His Holiness's royal
Yeah,
bottom, a
right.
child was reared up alongside young princes who was then punished in their stead. It was hoped that the pain was vicariously felt and the lesson
No!
learned. But
What?
judging from the behavior of some of history's monarchs, we're pretty sure a great deal of princes cared.
That is horrible. That's a horrible job. That's a horrible.
That is by far the worst job I've ever heard of.
I
in
see
my
why
life.
most kingdoms have failed.
Exactly.
Cause you got me fucked up. I get beat for him. I
him?
swear, I'm killing the
He
king.
ain't feeling. He ain't feeling nothing.
Cared not a whit what their poor whipping boys suffered. Still, some were handsomely compensated for their childhood pains, such as
Okay.
William Murray, whipping boy to Charles I, who was made into an earl for his diligent sufferings.
Okay.
Regardless, taking the heat for some
I'm not
spoiled
doing
noble
that.
child has no doubt to
And I would
Bro.
have killed the. I'm telling you, I would have
Bro,
murdered the king.
The fact that we know when they whipped people back then, they whipped.
They whipped. You got me. You got me
have
messed
been one of the
up.
worst jobs in history. 10. Fuller.
What's a
Wool
fu-
is a
fuller?
waterproof material that mankind has been spinning into a variety of
Okay.
clothing items
Okay.
for millennia. Yet the process of weaving it results in material that is coarse with a wide mesh and is easily frayed. This is due
Okay.
to the natural oil and grease of a sheep's skin, which has to be
Okay.
removed to make the cloth soft and fluffy. This was the job of a fuller, a job so terrible that in ancient Roman times it was relegated to slaves. In
So-
order to degrease wool, it would be draped in a large empty tub, which
Of
was then filled with
urine?
urine,
I
an
knew
alkaline
it.
solution that degrades fats and oils. Filling the tub with several gallons of urine from who
That's why
take that
Rome
back.
fell. That's why Rome
That's-
fell.
oh,
That's why
that's-
Rome fell.
Do these jobs get worse?
I don't know.
Oh.
Like they all feel like the same level of bad to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like they all like right here.
Okay, so which one you?
You see what I'm saying? They all at the same. You see what I mean? You see what I'm getting at? You see? Like you can't.
You can't choose between
You know what I
the
mean?
whippings and the urine.
Or even the leeches.
Oh, the leeches. Oh my!
Like you see what I'm
God.
saying? It's like they're all at the same
They
level
all-
of nasty.
Yeah, they all there.
Cause I'd be damned if a motherfucker latch on to me to suck my blood. I'd be beating the shit out of mosquitoes.
Who knows how many
Oh.
people, the Fuller then had to climb in and stomp on it with their bare feet.
Oh.
And the second worst part of this job, having to go out and physically collect the urine from public
Oh.
toilets and private homes. 9. Groom of the Stool.
You got me hella.
Yo, look, let's
got us
okay.
messed
As a
up.
father, Mike, you've had to do that. But that's your child.
Oh, you talking about the new one?
Yeah.
Well, let's see exactly what it is.
But you can
As you've
see.
seen previously, Europe
Okay.
held monarchs in pretty high esteem.
That's why they all have failed.
Though given the long history of crazy kings and pointless wars, it's a little hard to imagine why.
Okay.
Well, given their status as wielders of divine right granted onto them by God
Okay.
himself, kings were of course far too important to wipe their own behinds. This was instead the job of the Groom of the Stool, an assistant to the king responsible for fetching the king's toilet chair, wiping his rear clean, and collecting the stool for examination and monitoring of the monarch's health.
They had to wipe him and monitor the poo.
I don't think they
That
gave them.
means you had to.
I don't think they gave that man gloves.
Bro, do you know how nasty people were back then?
They were disgusting.
They were just. They probably smelled. Even the king probably smelled
Horrendous.
foul.
Horrendous.
Oh.
And look at that. Look at that. That is a stool.
I'm taking this as the worst job so
This
far.
is a duty.
This is
Wiping another man's
a
behind.
full-grown adult male.
What if you sneeze?
Bent over.
What if you sneeze while wiping and you just
The fact, the fact that the king bent his ass over and let himself be wiped.
Stood, boy, wipe my bottom. I got
Believe it or not,
a little corn in there and some shrooms. I'm a little gamey today. Getting to work. It was
Play
a
it,
little
man.
hard coming out. I'm gonna have a hard time wiping. I'll kill a king again.
this was considered a position of privilege amongst
Oh,
European
no.
nobility. So next time someone calls you a kiss ass, just
Oh.
remind them you're only one spot away from the revered position of being a wipe ass instead. 8. Rat catcher. Prior to the
Okay, that's
creation
not
of
so
modern
bad.
rat
That's
traps,
not so
rats
Oh
were
nah,
often
because the rat plague or the black plague,
Yeah.
bubonic plague,
I mean-
whatever plague it was that was cared about rats. That was a horrible job.
to be dealt with in a much more questionable way. Responding to rat infestations, rat catchers would rub oil of aniseed and thyme into their hands and clothing to attract the hungry rodents, and then try to catch them with his bare hands. As harbingers of all manners of disease, this made rat catching an extremely dangerous occupation. But live rats could be sold for a tidy profit to less than reputable food vendors and as meal for some livestock. 7. Match girl. Before
what
the
does she have
advent
to do?
of the lighter, mankind relied exclusively on matches to light candles, cigars, and heating fires.
Okay.
While the process of actually making a match wasn't particularly difficult or disgusting, it was the result of years spent dipping pieces of wood into a highly toxic phosphorus solution that made this a horrible job to work at. Inhalation
Yeah.
of the phosphorus used in the match head also caused ailments known as jaw, a horrific affliction of the lower jaw, which eroded the gums and caused them to give off a foul-smelling discharge. After years, the jaws would begin to give off
It was the D word, wasn't it? It was the D word. It was the D word. It was the D word.
Foul smelling.
Stop! Don't do it! Don't do it!
Foul
Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it!
smelling
No!
discharge.
Ah, you did it.
Look at that jawbone, bro.
That's nasty.
off an eerie glow, and the only
Oh, and
known
it
treatment
glowed.
was complete removal of part of the
Exactly.
jawbone. Next time someone argues with you about
Oh.
government overregulations, have them Google a picture of Fossey jaw. 6. Bone grubber.
What?
It turns out
Whoa.
that despite its explosion in
Whoa.
popularity, recycling has been around for millennia. In
Oh,
Victorian cities, professional bone grubbers would scavenge rotting bones from butchers, garbage piles, and
Oh,
stockyards and sell them to manufacturers. The scavenged bones will be made into toothbrush handles, children's teething rings, and various other personal items. And what wasn't sold was ground down into fertilizer or boiled up for soap making. With the
get
popularity
all
of
mine
corpse
from the
robbing in
butcher.
Victorian England, we can't help but wonder how many family relatives ended up household goods. In a way, we suppose it's true that our loved ones are with us long after they're gone, specifically if one of their femurs makes up the toothbrush you use every night. 5. Mudlark. Scavenging was a huge economy in Victorian England, with nearly everything imaginable being recycled and renewed into something else. Modern hippies would surely have been impressed, but at the bottom of the scavenger hierarchy was the mudlark, who cruised trash dumps and riverbanks looking for absolutely anything overlooked by other scavengers. The poorest of the poor, these destitute souls wandered into freezing water full of human excrement, rotting fish, and the not-so-occasional human body to find bits of metal, bone, or cloth to sell.
Like, I wouldn't, bro.
No,
That's nasty.
Oh, these are by far.
These are horrible.
These are bad.
These are horrendous. Like, I know, bro. these are bad.
4. Tanner. Without a doubt, one of the most disgusting and dangerous jobs of all times. Tanners were regardless one of the most important occupations in the history of mankind, tasked with the essential work of preserving animal hides for their use in clothing and goods. Tanners employed a disgusting and potentially dangerous process to prepare hides.
What was the process?
First, the hides were soaked in giant pits of lime to soften hair and excess tissues. The hair and excess fat would then be scraped off by hand. But accidental exposure to lime was not only dangerous to breathe in, but resulted in nasty chemical burns on exposed flesh. A cleaned hide was then re-immersed into a pit of water and feces to further clean it and soften it. Typically, this would be animal feces from livestock or dogs, but could just as well have been from public toilets. These massive pits of watery poo would ferment, and Victorian-era tanneries were...
Oh, no.
Because imagine a porta potty. You know how bad porta potty smell? I remember I went into a porta potty one time. The water wasn't even blue. It was black. And I mean,
wrong bead.
And it wasn't brown. It was black.
Oh no!
And it wasn't just dark blue. It was actually black. Like when it splashed, it was black.
Like smudge.
Yes.
Like tar.
Yes.
Like these.
And it smelled like the worst thing I had. I was. Just go.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most disgusting places one could ever work in. 3. Gong farmer. Most farmers grow crops or livestock, but in medieval Europe, the gong farmer harvested the end result of a proper farmer's hard work.
Oh my
Poop,
God.
Lots and lots of it. As cities exploded in size, and with even rudimentary sewage systems still centuries away, cities across Europe needed a solution to the mounting poop crisis. With people simply tossing their waste into the street or into holes behind their houses, the greatest cities of Europe smelled just awful. And
I told you, people back then were nasty. Granted, they didn't have sewers, but to just toss it outside your own house?
I mean, you can't leave it in there.
You can't leave it, but transport it.
Transport it where, Mike?
Anywhere but outside your own damn house.
If they don't got a toilet,
Aaron,
I bet they can't afford horses.
Aaron.
And bro, just think about it.
The city smell like shit.
I know that, but just think about it.
Nobody thought.
Bro, just think about it. Like for real, think about it, right? We in medieval time, right? I'm not going outside of these castle walls. I'm not going in the fucking forest. I could die here.
If you good enough, if you nasty enough to toss it outside, you going in the forest. They went in the forest, bro.
Death is.
They went in the forest,
bro. I done seen enough medieval movies to know I'm not going in no forest.
You mean, from what I'm gathering, the gong farmer collected the people's shit out the street.
Yeah, shit on the shingles.
It's a shitty situation.
Were a daily nightmare of disease and infection. That's when some enterprising lad must have gotten a very bright idea. Tasked with collecting all the waste produced by the city's residents, gong farmers had to dig human waste out of pits and collect it from privies to be recycled as fertilizer or used as building materials. Despite being in incredibly high demand, gong farmers were not surprisingly looked down on by the rest of society and often forced to live away from the general population in their own small communities, liable to succumb to various diseases and ostracized for doing a critical job in medieval Europe. Gong farmers were truly...
Europe and Rome was some really bad places.
And then you want to throw the shit in the street, but then not like the people that's cleaning it up for you.
Look,
Clean it up your damn self, or you gonna have a pile of shit outside your house,
which they did.
and they
For
probably
like
how are you so
years.
noble with poop outside your house?
They thought the poops was noble. It's a noble
It
poop.
smelled and brought disease, and
It's
I'm
the
pretty
shit of a
sure
king.
somebody figured that out.
They used to wipe with. The toilet paper
Probably
wasn't.
nothing.
Toilet paper wasn't like.
They probably didn't wipe. That's the crazy part.
But they did because they had a stool boy. What the stool boy wiping that with his hand?
Oh,
His hand. He was just wiping his ass with his hand.
My lord,
Hope not.
my lord, let me get the boo boo out the
Some
butt.
kind of cloth or wool. Scratching the hell out of his ass.
Pull the turn out.
The unsung, smelly heroes of human civilization. 2. River pig. Lumberjacks
pig.
provide us with the wood we need to
don't
build
sound bad.
everything from homes to furniture.
sound
But before
bad.
the creation of the internal combustion engine, most of that wood was delivered to lumber mills via rivers. Floating logs
Okay.
would cruise along with the current in the hundreds. But given their numbers, log jams, is that where the word possibly comes from?
Oh, they
were
stand out there
inevitable.
and
These were the
okay.
responsibility of the river pig,
Don't
a
sound too
hapless
bad.
worker who would ride the logs down the river and jump between them while trying to free them from jams with a long
Oh, he
steel
sound like he
pipe.
get crushed
An
on like-
absolutely dangerous job that required
Oh.
incredible dexterity and balance. River
Yeah.
pigs were routinely killed as they
Yeah.
fell off logs and crushed between them in the river's
Yeah.
current, an occurrence so frequent that work was hardly ever stopped on their account. 1. Sin Eater. Devoutly religious medieval Europe had some
No.
funny ideas about spirituality and who was too holy or not to wipe
Okay.
their own rear ends. It's no surprise then that medieval Europeans would be the ones to invent one of the most peculiar jobs on
Oh,
the list.
no.
The Sin Eater was an individual called upon during times of death. After a loved one died, it was tradition to place a loaf of bread or other food items along with a cup of beer on the corpse's chest, with the belief that any lingering sin would soon be absorbed by the food. The Sin Eater would then come along and eat the spiritually tainted food, taking the sin into themselves and leaving the deceased person's spirit to enter the afterlife free of any foodborne sins. Paid a small stipend for their services, Sin Eaters literally got a free lunch out of the deal.
It's
But
not
because it was
that
widely believed that the practice
bad.
corrupted their own souls, were often extreme social outcasts that nobody wanted to be around. If you think one of the worst jobs to ever exist is designing websites, then Wix has your back.
Okay, great integration, by the way.
Facts.
But the last one was the least of the worries. But
That was
that
horrendous.
is gonna do. Which job? Let us know in the comments. Which job, if you had to pick one of those
None
off
of
the
them.
list, which one would you pick?
not
And you
pick-
can't pick Sin Eater. You can't pick Sin Eater.
That's not fair. You said off the list.
No, Sin Eater that wasn't bad. You just got to be an outcast. Which one off the list are you picking? Personally, I'm probably.
I ain't scooping no poop.
That one don't sound as bad, but then you got to realize
And you
that's a
scooping
lot
poop.
of poop. That's a lot.
That's
of
all
poop.
you do. You around E. coli bacteria your entire
All
life.
day, exactly. Which one would you do?
I would die.
You gotta pick.
I would die.
You gotta pick one. Which one do you do?
Oh, I'd be the person that collect the leeches off the leech catcher.
Not an option.
That kinda
That is not
is.
an option.
Kinda is.
That is not an option.
Kinda is.
We had the leech person. We had the one that wiped the king's buttocks.
Oh, the one that get beat in place.
The whipping boy. You gonna be a whipping boy?
Nah. Then you had the one where you had to stand and pee.
Oh, that's disease too. Oh my God.
None of them.
They all are bad. Y'all let us know which one. If you had to pick one, which one would you do? Just because we're telling y'all to pick one, I'm gonna pick one.
What you gonna pick?
I'm gonna wipe the king's ass. I'm gonna wipe the king's ass. I'm gonna wipe that mother. I'm gonna wipe it.
Y'all gonna have a real intimate relationship.
Them other ones, man.
My lord,
I can't stand
your
in no
booty.
urine. I can't stand in urine, bro.
I can't wipe another man's ass.
Or
bro.
I can't do the leeches. I can't.
I don't know, bro. I can't
Pick one. Pick
I can't
one.
pick.
You gotta pick one.
I'm not doing the thing where they had to remove the jaw. The bone,
The bone
collector.
collector.
I'd be the bone collector.
The bone collector.
Because then I'd only pick up
Yeah.
animal bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd do the bone collector.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, there we
No,
go.
you
That
can't.
is-
You can't change. You're the
I'm
poop butt.
doing the bone
No, you're
collector.
not. You're doing the poop. You
That
said
is
it.
gonna do it, y'all.
Mike is
We'll catch you in
Mike
the-
is cleaning the king's ass. He's the ass cleaner of the king, and I'm the bone collector.
Call me white ass.
Call me bone crusher.
Why you get a cool name? You look like bone crusher.
I ain't never scared.
That's Stool. We get your next one. Peace out.
My endeavor, my endeavor. Fire burns hot. This is my endeavor, my endeavor, my endeavor. A fire burns hot. Yeah. I got the fire, but right. Ice, flame lit. Right. Ice, flame lit. I got the fire, but right. Yo, ice, go in and that shit can do some right. Ice, flame lit. Yo, few A's, my alma mater. I'm a mama's boy, so fuck.